here's why you should care about cryptocurrency. Guys, cryptocurrency is one of the new things that has recently gained a ton of attention from media, from investors, from all these people who want to be part of this movement that's going on called cryptocurrency. Now, one of the most prominent cryptocurrencies that you've probably heard of is called Bitcoin. So it's really opened this whole new industry for investors, for business owners, for just people who want to transact in an easier way than going to the bank. Now, why cryptocurrency is important really hinges on the fact that we've printed so much of our dollar supply over the past few years. And if you think about that, that's actually a very, very dangerous thing that has occurred. Now, if we look back, the US dollar used to be backed by gold. So the value of the US dollar was protected, right? We had to keep a certain amount of gold in order to have dollars in circulation. Now, at a certain point, we were no longer backing the US dollar with gold. So that gave us an opportunity to experience very rapid inflation. Whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, you can decide for yourself. I think there are good arguments for both. I think inflation is necessary, but it's also very bad. So this has given us, even recently, rising prices in gas, used cars, groceries. Everything is going up in value very, very rapidly. So that means that the purchasing power of these US dollars is going down. Now, maybe we can take a step back and think about why that might be. Why is the dollar losing so much purchasing power? If you take something and you just increase the supply and people realize that, hey, the supply is actually not limited. We can print as much of this thing as we want, whether it's US dollar or whether it's something else. So what is this asset really worth? Then as investors, we need to think about, okay, so are our assets safe being held in the US dollar? I personally do not prefer to hold a lot of US dollar in cash just because I know how supply has been increased and what that's done to demand and overall purchasing power of the US dollar, right? So it's a very interesting dynamic that's developing, and this is where cryptocurrency comes in, because cryptocurrency is not unlimited, right? We can take, for example, Bitcoin as an example. There's a certain amount of Bitcoin that can be mined, and that's it. It's capped at a certain figure. Now, that figure is in the tens of millions. There's a lot of Bitcoin out there, but there's no more after that. And that gives us a very interesting solution that we can use to replace what we have going on in our economy today. Not only is there a limited supply, which protects the value, that makes it an anti-inflationary asset. Number two, people are taking this asset, Bitcoin, and they're hiding it, kind of like putting it under their pillow, so to speak. They're putting it on cold wallets. So what does that mean? Somebody buys some Bitcoin, or maybe somebody sends them Bitcoin, right? And they usually have it on some sort of exchange or wherever it is. And so they can take that and they can put it into a cold wallet. A cold wallet is something that is not accessible without a physical token or key, right? So if we keep our Bitcoin on these centralized exchanges, that's a very dangerous play. But if we put it into cold wallets, that's a very safe place to keep it. So more and more Bitcoin is leaving exchanges and being stored in cold wallets. And that's a very bullish sign for Bitcoin, because what is that doing to overall supply? We're not talking about the total supply, we're just talking about the supply that's being traded. That's shrinking that supply, because if we have $100 million that's being traded on exchanges, and then 50 million goes to cold wallets, well, now we only have $50 million in Bitcoin that's being traded back and forth. That means that the price of it is likely to go up because there's less of it available in the overall market. And so as more Bitcoin is being stored away, it's creating this interesting dynamic in the market where the value of Bitcoin is going up. We know no more of it is going to be printed, and we know that the supply is sort of shrinking in a way because people are locking it away into their cold wallets. Now, an interesting thing that you can do, if you never wanted to sell your Bitcoin, you could keep it in your cold wallet and just take loans out against it. That's one of the things that wealthy people have figured out that is super, super helpful for new investors. It's all about buying assets and then taking loans out against them. Because guess what? If I made $100,000, I would have to pay tax on it, right? But if I reinvest that $100,000 into something that I can write off, I can then take a loan out against that asset, and I don't pay taxes on my loan, right? Because it's a loan. You don't pay taxes on loans. That's not income. I'm just taking out a loan against my asset, and I'm using that money to do whatever I need to do, whether it's invest into other things or whatever it might be. The point is that we want to secure our funds in assets which we can then loan out against. Cryptocurrency is a wonderful asset that allows us to do that, but it's also very safe, and it's transforming the industry in terms of real estate, law, and business. All of these things are now happening on the blockchain, and the blockchain is like a ledger that keeps track of everything that's going on. And the cool thing about Bitcoin is that it's decentralized. So instead of a central authority telling you exactly what you have to do with your funds, when you can send wires, when you can't send wires, all these different things, all these different regulations, right? That's what happens with institutions and banks. That doesn't happen with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a decentralized digital currency that is operated by a network of computers. So there's no one authority that decides what happens with the Bitcoin network. It's all a collaboration. And that's why it's so safe, and that's why it's so secure. And the best part about it is that it really minimizes the ability of criminals to perform criminal activity using this currency, because everything is stored on everybody's ledger. So for example, if a transaction happened between you and I, this transaction would be recorded on my ledger, on your ledger, on all these different computers' ledgers. And if anybody wanted to say that that transaction didn't happen, they wouldn't be able to, because every computer has a copy of what happened, right? And so that's the beauty of cryptocurrency. Not only is it fast and secure, not only does it help us keep record and have actual record on the blockchain safely, securely, and digitally, but it also protects us from criminal activity and allows us a secure way to transact with one another globally. No matter where you're at in the world, you have access to cryptocurrency. You don't even have to have a bank account, but you can transact in Bitcoin. Guys, hopefully this was super informative. Why I think cryptocurrency is super, super important, and why I think it's here to stay, more importantly. So go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next video.